Welcome to this video in which I'm going to be digging into the world of sound deadening and soundproofing your car. I just got done soundproofing the trunk and the wheel arches of my 2020 STI. I used materials from this company, CTK, which is a Ukrainian company that has warehouses in the United States. I went ahead and used CTK premium sound deadening material, as well as that blue stuff that you see right here, which is this multi-layer material. This is a home installation. That's what my channel is all about, doing it yourself so you don't have to pay extra to get somebody to do it for you. I'm going to share with you everything that I learned, show you how to get the trunk to this point right here, and let you listen to before and after comparisons so that you know what you're getting. This is one of my favorite installations, my favorite modifications for this particular car, because you get a benefit out of it every time you get into your car. So let's get to it. So it's worth knowing exactly why you want to do this to your car. There's four main reasons why we want to sound deaden and soundproof the car. One of those reasons is to keep all of the music inside the car. The less music that escapes through panel vibrations or through substandard materials in the car onto the outside of the car, the better the sound listening experience is going to be inside the car. Reason number two is to keep unwanted noises from reaching inside the cabin from the outside. And this is right here is a perfect place where that happens, right? This is the trunk of the car. It's a lot of thin metal back here. Okay, the wheel wells are back here, and a lot of road noise generates right from the wheel wells because obviously that's where the tires contact the road. You also have these big cavities in here, and in a car like this that is not a luxury car, you don't have a lot of sound deadening material installed from the factory already. The third reason is to stop panels from vibrating. This is especially necessary if you're installing a sound system with a subwoofer in your car. If you have panels vibrating, it sounds terrible. It sounds terrible on the inside of the car while you're listening to music, and it sounds terrible outside. Even if you don't hear, okay, even if you're listening to music so loud that you don't happen to hear, say, this panel right here vibrating, it will rob the music of that cleanness. And a lot of times you might not even realize that this is happening until after you do an installation like this, and then you realize, holy cow, like the system sounds so much better and I thought it sounded good before. And of course, we also want to stop the rattles that happen, not necessarily because of a panel vibrating, but because of, cables that are kind of touching metal, plastic pieces that may be touching the metal. We want to decouple those items from the metal, from the hard metal, to keep them from vibrating, because we all know those rattles are terrible. And then when you install a system, you install a subwoofer in your car, you can chase rattles all day long. So to get the best performance out of my sound system, I decided to do a two-layered system. So I'm going to use this sound deadener, which is the CTK Premium, and then on top of it, I'm going to add the CTK Multimat Evo, which is this bad boy right here. But to get the most out of the sound absorbing qualities of this material, I'm going to be covering most of the trunk and the wheel arches. I have the 4mm size, and because of that, you get 10 in the box. Same thing with the CTK Multimat Evo, which is 7.5mm. And again, you can see right here, if you get different sizes, then you get different amounts in the box. So this particular box is going to come with 8 sheets. So here you can see the back of the box. You can see the different sizes that this particular material is offered in: 1.8, 2.2, 3, and 4. This one right here is 4. So it's still pretty thin for what it is. It's pretty thin, even at 4mm, which is the thickest that they offer. And this particular material is essentially just butyl. It's a butyl layer right here, which is super sticky. Once it gets to the metal, that thing is not coming out. And then it has a foil layer right over it right here. You could also see the size right there, 370mm by 500mm. So to cut this material, it's actually super simple. You have several options. You can cut it with just about anything. I'm just using scissors right here, and it cuts very, very easily with scissors. You could also cut it easily with a razor once it's already installed. Simply grab the razor and run through the material with it. It's very simple to do, and just like that, you shouldn't have any issues cutting this stuff. By the way, if you like this little kit right here, I would recommend it. I'll link to it in the video description. I used it a lot during this installation, and I've used it a lot in previous installations as well. So I'll link to that in the video description, but moving on. So part of the installation is going to involve rolling the material onto the surface of the metal. And of course, you're going to need some sort of roller like this. I have a metal one that I have used several times. I'll link to it in the video description as well. It's nice because if you notice right here, there's little bubbles on the aluminum right here. So as you're rolling through with the roller, you're going to kind of push those in, so you'll be able to easily see if you missed any spots. I have a cookie sheet right here, and I'm going to bang it with these scissors so you can hear what it sounds like. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and install this right in the middle there, and then I'm going to show you the difference so you can see what you're doing to the metal of the car and why it improves the sound inside so much. So I'm going to go ahead and put it right in the middle there, and I'm going to roll it with a roller. And with that done, I'm gonna do the same thing now so you can hear the difference. The difference is night and day. This is exactly what you're going to be doing to all of your panels. So this is the first layer, and it doesn't have to be 100% coverage. If you have a panel, say this big, if you cover 50% of the panel, you're gonna get fantastic results out of it. If you do the entire panel, you're gonna get diminishing results. For the weight that you add to the car, I would highly recommend that you only do what you need to do. That way you're not adding weight unnecessarily. Usually only luxury cars will have the proper amount of sound deadener and soundproofing materials inside. Well, you can do the same thing with a few $100s. Here we have the box for the Multimat Evo. You can see the different size choices that you have, the thicknesses that you have. If you get the Pro, it's 5.5 millimeters. The Multimat Evo, which is this one right here, this one is 7.5 millimeters, so it's pretty thick. It has what they're calling an acoustic membrane, which would be this outside layer, which is also waterproof. So it's a car application. This is going to be great for the trunk area or for the floor of the car, any area that might potentially get water in there. This stuff right here is not going to absorb water. It has several butyl layers. You see those right there, one on the top, one on the bottom, and sandwiched between it has closed cell foam. All of this stuff right here serves to not only deaden the metal that this is attached to, but also reduce noises from coming inside the cabin. But it's also gonna act as a heat insulator, and it's also gonna act as a soundproofer. This is the do-it-all kind of mat right here. This is a multi-layer mat. If I had to do just one, I would definitely just do the Multimat Evo, because this is already doing what the CTK Premium does with the butyl down here. So it's definitely gonna be a sound deadener, but it has all the added benefits of being a decoupler and also being a soundproofer. This stuff will cut the exact same way. So for the before and after, here's a good look of the trunk before I install any sound deadening. You can see right there, there's some installed from the factory at the very bottom right there. That's that black tar material down there. And then over here, you can also see some right there, which is right here. Okay, this right here is sound deadening material, because that's a panel that's very thin right there. So if they didn't install that, that would really vibrate. And this right here is material that I installed previous installation. I'm going to be leaving that because it's still in good condition and it's doing its job. But today I'm going to be going all out and installing far more. The first thing we want to do before we get started is to clean the entire surface area of contaminants. What I'm using is this Clean Slate by Chemical Guys. This is the stuff that I always use whenever I want to strip the surface of waxes and everything else. It works great. I'll link to it in the video description in case you want to pick up a bottle. I already have it prepared right here, and all I'm going to do is literally just clean the entire surface of the car and then just gonna let it dry. So I'm gonna finish cleaning this up, but just from the little bit that I did just now, I can tell it's a huge difference. But I do want to mention that you should consider this a permanent installation. So I'm ready to get to the installation of this layer, the first layer, which is gonna be the sound vibro dampening material, the CTK Premium that you see right here. Another thing that you have to be mindful of is that the material actually has to be heated a little bit. If you live up north and it's say winter and the stuff has been in your garage, it's probably going to be really cold. You shouldn't use it then, because it's gonna be hard and it's gonna be hard to mold. So make sure that the material's been in a semi-warm environment. You know, I live in Florida. In my garage, it's not all that cold in here at all. So this stuff is flexible enough. So I don't need to heat it, but just be mindful if you need to put a blow dryer to it to get it warmed up a little bit, to get it to a flexible state, then you gotta do what you gotta do. So I wanna show you the first sheet here. And all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna be laying it where it's at. By the way, I haven't taken out the backing to it yet. So we're gonna leave the backing on first. And we're gonna put it where it's gonna go, which is gonna be right there. Okay, I'm gonna center it, and then we're gonna mold it into place, and making sure that it fills all of the gaps back there. This stuff is a very strong adhesive, so if you don't try to mold it into place like this and you just place it on there and you make a mistake, then you're gonna have a hard time removing it and then, you know, repositioning it. So you wanna place it like this first with the paper backing on it still, and then once it's molded into place, then you can remove that backing, place it where it's gonna go, and then we're gonna roll it. See how it retains the shape? Okay. So that piece was easy, and they're definitely not all going to be like that. If you need to cut a piece to fit a certain area like this one right here, you can simply mold a piece into place and then mark the areas that you need to cut with a marker. With the areas marked, you can then easily cut it to size. Make sure that you keep the cut pieces for other parts of the car, and with a piece cut, you can now easily fit it where you want. You will have to repeat this quite a bit throughout the installation. So I wanted to give you an idea what 4 sheets look like. If that's all, say, that you had, this is probably where I would put them. I'm gonna add more, but I wanted to show you 4 sheets so you would get an idea. You can see right there. So essentially, the first things you want to target is all of the large areas where you see panels that are just, you know, wide or long, that don't have a lot of shape to them. Those are usually the ones that will vibrate the most. I'm definitely gonna crack open another box and start doing the wheel arches and some other few areas, but I'm not gonna get too crazy with this layer because I'm adding a whole nother layer on top. So it's about time to install the Multimat Evo, which I have right here. And as you can see, there's a lot of cables, and there's also access holes where the clips are gonna go to attach the original panels and trim of the car. So we have to be super mindful of how we install this. You just have to use your best judgment. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna place it where it's gonna go. So for instance, I'm gonna probably start just right there, and then I'm gonna mark the spots where I know I need to cut, and it's gonna be a rough marking because there's no way to see through it, and then I'm just gonna cut it. And what that's going to do is that's going to allow me to kind of sneak this in through from the bottom like that, so that the cable rests on top. And that's great because that's going to decouple the cable tray, and it's going to sit on top of the soft, material on top of the Multimat Evo, and it's going to eliminate the rattles and vibrations down here and eliminate some of that road noise that comes in through here because of the proximity of the tires in this location right here. The rest of the sheets are just rinse and repeat. Some, like this sheet right here, you'll be able to use the whole sheet, while others you will have to cut to size. Throughout the entire install, the most important thing is to make sure that there are no air pockets behind the sheets. Make sure that you also use the roller on the entire sheet to ensure that it adheres properly. So I'm well underway here, and I wanted to show you where I'm at right now and basically let you know what I've learned so far. This stuff is super rubbery, and I mean, look at that. Just by touching it right there, I got a little bit right on my hands. So take that into consideration when you're doing your own installation. This stuff is super sticky and tacky. While you're doing the fitting, make sure that you leave the backing on there. I decided not to overlap the sheets because these sheets right here, the Evo, these are 7.5 millimeters. In some places the 7.5 is going over the 4, and that's pretty thick already. So if you end up overlapping it, you might have some fitment issues down the road. But all of these other sheets that I've already put on here, they're super easy. This sheet right here is going to roll over access holes that are hiding a bolt inside. You can see right here where those bolts are under these round stickers. You'll likely never have to access them, but you'd be glad that you took the time to create an access hole in the material in the case that you did in the future. Sometimes you're gonna have the opportunity to take some harnesses out in order to, install the sound deadening material underneath. So I want to get the wheel arch right here, and as you can see, we have all these wires right here. Thankfully, they're clipped in, and you can take the clips out. This particular type of clip, all you have to do is get underneath it while it's on the car, on the metal right there, and then pinch both sides at the same time. And if you do that, you can pop that one out. This particular type of fastener right here is attached to the body of the car through a stud. So there's a stud coming through the wheel well right here, and then they attach the zip tie to the wire bundle, and then they just push that in. So you really can't pop it out, because if you pop it out, you're gonna break the 3 little tabs that are on the side. So if you wanna retain the functionality of the fastener so you can put it back, basically what I did was the little clips on the side, you could just stick a very small precision screwdriver like this one on the side and pop it out just a little bit, and then we're gonna do the same thing to the other 2. Once you pop them out just a little bit, they can come out. So what you gotta do afterwards is you gotta push these clips back in, kind of bend them back into place. That way you can reuse this particular fastener. Okay, so I'm essentially done with this installation. As you can see, I have a lot of coverage in the trunk. I covered the wheel arches. You can see them both. And then I also did some on the inside of the fender area right there. And I did that on both sides. So I live in Florida. My garage right now is not air conditioned, so it made the material a little bit hotter than it should be for the installation. So that's a lesson learned. You should keep the material at a reasonable temperature. There's nothing wrong with it. You're paying for that, right? You're paying for the material to be sticky like this so that it never comes off, which is great. But it could get difficult to install and a little bit messy if it's too sticky, which is what happened to me in a couple spots. If you get some of this tar stuff, the butyl, if you get that on something, and you can simply grab a piece like this, like a scrap piece, and then just use that piece to, you know, basically pull the material out. And that's how you can clean the metal if you get some of this butyl on the metal. You can see right there, that black stuff obviously is tape. You can get finishing tape for this. I did not get finishing tape. I'm actually doing a little experiment. This is actually very high quality duct tape that I bought. And the only reason why I did that is because some of the seams, when they came in contact with each other, started oozing some of that butyl out, you know, during the installation. You know, if you put pressure on the spot, you can squeeze some of that stuff out, and I just did not want that stuff all over the place. The easy way to avoid that completely is to simply use finishing tape on all of the seams. So yeah, make sure that any bolts that are accessible, all the holes for the clips, for the panels that you have to put back for the trim, and any holes that may have bolts inside, that all of those have access to them. For the most part, this is done. In order to really see the difference, I have to put everything back, which is what I'm going to do now. Once I do that, this is going to act like a sub enclosure. Before putting my trunk back together, I want to share before and after clips. These are completely unedited and the camera is on manual settings. While it might not sound like a huge difference, once everything is put back together, it makes a considerable difference. The bass is tighter and cleaner, the cabin is quieter, and other road noise that reaches in seems to come from the floor and the doors, which would make sense if there is less coming from the rear. For my installation, I ended up using 6 CTK premium sheets and 16 Multimat Evo sheets, with each CTK premium weighing 1.9 pounds and each Evo weighing about 2.4 pounds. I ended up adding about 50 pounds to the car permanently. I have absolutely no reservations adding this weight to the car. This is something that you're gonna enjoy every day versus having the fastest car out there. I already have an STI. I don't have anywhere near the fastest car out there. And if that was my goal, I certainly would not have gotten a rally car. But hey, that's me. If that's something that you want, then you might want to take that into consideration because you have options. If you have a different budget or different goals, CTK probably has the perfect material for it. I'm not going over all of these because the video is long enough, but I do invite you to check out their website and check out their huge selection of soundproofing and sound deadening products. So I'm done with this installation. I've been driving around for a couple weeks with this modification and I absolutely love it. The car sounds better, it's quieter, the music sounds better, my sub hits harder. It's just much better, and I wouldn't be surprised if in the coming weeks I actually did the floorboards as well because it really does make a huge difference. So huge thanks to CTK, not only for being responsive but also for providing a fantastic product. When it comes to modifying our cars, you get what you pay for. Their stuff really was top-notch, high-quality material. I have absolutely no doubt that it's going to last the life of the car. So thank you very much, CTK. That's going to do it for this video. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next video. Take care.